Okay, so I was on social capital. So social capital speaks to how people gain tangible and intangible resources. So the tangible ones are the ones that a lot of people focus on most. We are going to be focusing more in this study or in this seminar on the intangible capital, social capital. It is a resource at the individual level or at the group level, organizational level, through social interactions and connection. Now, we have highlighted these key variables so that we can pay attention to them. Tangible, intangible, the word resources at individual level, at group level, organizational level, and through social interaction and connection. We all are products of connections and interactions. We, in one way or the other, belong to social groups. We are there, and that is what we must value. And the question is, how are we relating and interacting with these connections that we have? Social capital as a resource is embedded within. So this social capital is embedded within this. We go back again to look at it. Is embedded within this individual level, this group level, and this organizational level. These resources is embedded in our social interactions. It's available through these social interactions, these connections, and it's also derived from these social networks, these interconnected people, these groups or nations. Wherever we are, let us know that there are things that are embedded, whether as Christians that go to church, as Muslims that go to mosque, as people that are business people, we belong to a business association, in our family, among our friends, old school association, primary school, secondary school, tertiary institution, business schools. There are interactions and social network that exist. There are capitals that are embedded within this. There are also capitals that are valuable through these interactions. And there are capitals that we can derive through these interactions. Okay, understanding social capital. What are they? Some research is here. So, but don't worry, I'm not going to go academic on this. I'm just going to do more of relating it to real life issues. So social capital, according to Lin 2001, are resources that are embedded in, can be accessed by or utilized through the relationship in the network. Now we are expanding it to the relationships in the network. Now you are in a network. The question is, how are you treating the relationship? Do you just see it as one of those things, or are you paying attention specifically to your relationships in this network? We will see some of those things that will drive as we go on. Why social capital, that is embedded resources, is dependent on social network. They are not identical or replaceable words. Network create the required environment for entrance to and the mobilization of tacit assets, which are accessed through relationship. This is very key. So the network creates the platform for accessing this capital. Social capital provide economic opportunities. While going through this, I was asking myself the questions. I was like, okay, for example, we know some people, when they attain positions, you want to look for people you trust. You want to look for people that have competence. First of all, you might need to look within your social network. If you have people that are competent, people that you trust within those groups, there is a possibility and a tendency. This is not being partisan or tribalistic. No, even within a wide scope, you want to look for those you can relate with. So there are economic opportunities driven by special treatment received from individuals and groups in a social context. Social capital cannot be generated by individuals acting on their own in isolation. So you must belong to. It depends on the proclivity for sociability, but a spontaneous sociability, a capacity to form new association and to cooperate within the terms of reference they establish. All right. Okay. All right, my slide. Now, let me pause quickly here to ask a question. What social network do you have? Maybe you want to write down about 5 of them, because as we go on, we are going to be asking the questions. What are you doing with this, your social network? So maybe you want to pause for a moment to write about 5 of your social network. It will be very easy. Your Christian association, your religious association, your old school association, for example, primary school, maybe that's too far, secondary school, maybe that's still too far, maybe tertiary institution and other business school you belong to. You want to write about 5 of them. Some might be your village association, your community, your professional association. So we have these networks. Please write them down very critically, because as we go on, we are going to be asking critical questions about how we are engaging this social capital or this social network, how we are using a capital embedded in this social network. Okay, the question now is, have you leveraged them appropriately? These social networks, have you leveraged them appropriately? We will see as we go on here today. Common behavioral elements, in social environments, cognitive actions. Now, some of the things to look out for as you list those 5 things, the question you have to ask yourself is, what is my behavior, or what has been my behavior within this my social network and association? Have I lived up to expectation? Am I adding value? What is my behavior here? Am I that person that they will say is always angry, that cannot be trusted? Am I that person that is not timely? I'm the one that always come late for meetings. I'm the one that want to be very controversial, even when it doesn't make sense. Am I that person that is the one everybody want to avoid? Just ask yourself about what are your cognitive actions within your social network. The second one is your emotions. Are you able to control your emotions within your social network? Are you able to act maturely? Are you able to be in charge? Are you able to take responsibility? Are you the one that people know has, the ability, no matter what comes your way, you are able to handle it? Now, this doesn't mean that you don't have weaknesses. Everybody do. But what it means is the fact that you are relating, you are interacting with this your social network. They are seeing you. And when the time for engagement comes, it is those pictures that people have of you. That is what they are likely going to engage. So if you are one that just cries, just creates trouble, create confusion everywhere, that is what people know about you. And this world is a very small circle. When that time comes, what will you be known for? Sometimes after 5 years, after 10 years, we lose contact with some people. And the next time we are seeing them, the question is, where are we engaging them? What do they remember about us? Of course, our environment also matters. We need to create that environment for people to engage and to assess us. Social comparison, that's another element we have to look at. Use of other people's opinion and ability to assess our own opinions and abilities. Now, within social network, this is very common. You come in and you are using other people to measure whether you are successful or you are not successful. Please, can I encourage us that we are all separate individuals, while we can take motivation and challenges from our social associations and friends. Please let us not compare our lives with other people. Comparison is a very dangerous thing to do, especially when it is being driven by negative emotion. We are created separately. We have different destinies in life. We are going different paths. We could use other people's learning to motivate and to promote, our focus and our discipline. But please, we are all different people. The need to maintain accurate appraisal of oneself compared to other people. This also speaks to what I said earlier. And the last one there is people tend to prefer to evaluate themselves with objective information and standard. However, if that information is unavailable, vague, or ambiguous, what do people do? Then people are likely to compare themselves to other people. So it is taken that, yes, there's an argument that people don't just want to compare. People don't just want to use other people as a benchmark, But where there are no standard, for example, in Nigeria today, what is the standard for saying a rich man and a poor man? What is the standard for saying this one is intelligent, this one is not intelligent? There are so many things that have been turned upside down today. So if you are using the wrong, variable to measure your social status, your stance, you might just be creating pressure. And you know what? Social media is not helping. Twitter is not helping. Instagram is not helping. Facebook is not helping. These bring pressure. And of course, we are comparing ourselves with people that we don't know. I think I saw something that somebody posted sometime on, is it Instagram or Facebook now? And it shows somebody that was doing exercise, the picture, the person put the camera somehow, and he was doing serious exercise, press up. And I'm sure everybody that will see that guy will say, this guy is just exercise. Only for the cat to come and walk past. And it became obvious that the person was actually standing, putting the camera on top of the base, and the camera was looking at the person as if he was actually doing the press up. And when the cat came and the person had to quickly chase the cat away, it became obvious that this person was standing. So if you take that person as a basis of comparison for your exercise and keeping fit, you would just be wearing out your life. And there are so many fake lives like that today. People borrow clothes, pose, people borrow cars to pose, people, point to houses that they don't own, and all kinds of lifestyles. So we should be careful of social comparison. Social exchange. These have to do with parties enter into and maintain exchange relationship with others with the expectation that doing so will be rewarding. Okay, so this has a positive angle and a negative angle to it. Why it is not wrong to benefit from a social network, from the connection and association, but going there with that mindset of solely benefiting from that association might actually put the pressure on you and might make you act also very strangely. Social facilitation, the influence of other people on the increase or decrease of an individual's performance. This one has to do with shame, with failure, with vulnerability. I will talk about that later. How do people judge you? Please let me also mention to you that you don't need anybody's permission rather to be who you want to be in life. You don't need anybody's permission to attain. See, failing is part of success. When you try something, you fail, it means that you have actually learned a thing or two and you are making progress. So what people say to you, how they measure, whether in the office where you work, your appraiser comes out and that appraiser shows that you didn't do too well, and then you take it in so strongly to such extent that you are no longer happy or comfortable with who you are and what you can do. Please let us not allow those things get in. People will say, somebody said, opinion is the cheapest commodity. Everybody's got opinion. People will say something. So the fact that you tried, it didn't work, doesn't mean you should give up, especially within your social network, whether it's a church or amongst your friends. Social identity. This one speaks to members of a group or community who identify and evaluate themselves in the same way. We are members of this group, so all of us must be. We all finished in 1986, so we should all be driving BMW 7 Series. Oh, we all finished 2001 from the university. We all should be living at VGC. Is a wrong pressure you are putting on yourself. That social identity we must manage very well. The fact that we came from the same background doesn't mean we must be at that same level. Members have the same definition of who they are and what attributes they have. And of course, finally on that, members follow the same pattern for how they interact with others who are not in their group. Group members refer to a collective sense of us versus them. And self-identification refers to an individual sense of me versus you. This one happen a lot. I belong to that association. I belong to that community. I belong to this. I belong to that. And because of that false, I call it false sense of identity, you are not willing to do things because you believe that by believing or by belonging to that association, things should naturally just work well. Oh, my brother has been appointed as a commissioner. Oh, my brother is now a senator. Oh, my friend is now the MD of a particular company. Oh, he is now the minister. Then life should just relax for me. Things I should no longer struggle again because no, life does not go like that. You still owe yourself the identity and the responsibility to add value. We'll come back to that. Well, last one here will be social network, which I've spoken to, is examine the set of ties or linkage among a defined set of actors, individuals, group, or organization, with the view that the system of linkage as a whole can be used to interpret the social behavior of the actors. All right, enough of too much academics. Let's try to now begin to bring it home gradually. How to build and spend social capital, our community assets. Okay, how can we spend it? How do we build it? Okay, building and winning social capital. Number one, you have to avoid the temptation to compete within your social network. Aim for cooperation instead. When you belong to a group, don't go there to compete, to prove that you know or you are more than other people. No, seek for cooperation. The moment you put forth a competitive outlook, there is a possibility that somebody in that group that might even be the person to leverage tomorrow might have been put off. And when that time comes in, that engagement might be what the person will remember. So don't compete. Don't compete. You're a member of a church. Don't compete. Cooperate instead. Relational dimension, trust and trustworthiness. This is one thing that is very critical in this our discussion today. Without trust, we cannot tap into the value of our social network. When we have been tested once or we have had a counter once and we failed in trust, it is far more difficult to rebuild trust than it is to destroy it. So don't play with these elements of trust. I will come back. Be a trustworthy person. There are norms and sanctions that also guide social network. Some of them are written, some of them are unwritten. But I think some of these things are just the way we relate with each other. We must know and be guided by ethics of association. Some people abuse that very well. Some people become a burden, a liability, when they should actually be an asset to social network. Because people belong to the same association, there's no more decorum and respect. Now, it's not everybody that shows off. It's not everybody that speaks. When you belong to a bigger association, there might just be some that observe. And you know what? Because there is that today, there's a shortage of trusts and character. People are out there in different social networks and connection, looking for who they can partner, who they can leverage, who they can do business with. You know, there is a saying today that, especially among religious folks, that it's better to even do business with people that are not amongst your religious body than to do business with people that are in your group, because people have failed over and over. People have disappointed. They have broken trust. They have abused the norms, and the sanctions have not been applied appropriately, because if you do, then that becomes a taboo. A member of this social association or this organization has dealt wrongly with the other. Create cooperative, obligations and expectations. That I will talk about also as I go on. Create cooperative social situation. Members of the social network should be comfortable around you. Don't be somebody that people are now trying to avoid. I said we should list about 5 of our social network. The question is this: how many people within those social networks do you call today and they pick your calls? Have you not destroyed trust? Have you not become a nuisance to members of your social network? If you have not, bravo, because there are possibilities that you can leverage that social network. Membership of social network is not necessarily about immediate gain. It could be futuristic. Cognitive dimension, 20, no 20 principle. Now, there is this saying that 20 friends does not necessarily need to play together for 20 years. All right. So the fact that we belong to the same social association 20 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, doesn't mean we must remain there. Social capital is labeled cognitive dimension, which refers to those resources providing shared representation, interpretation, and system of meaning among parties. It could be easy to work together when a shared cognitive code system exists. Innovation is more likely to occur when diversity of opinion, knowledge, and experiences could be combined. So an essential prerequisite is that there is a shared cognitive code between the parties to make such exchange and combination possible. Nobody is a waste in any social network, whether you are up there or you are down there. You meet new people, you have old friends, you have to continue to engage them. All right. How to build a winning social capital. Let's quickly go through that. Vulnerability. Vulnerability. Just a second, please. Be vulnerable. Don't be a Mr. Know-it-all. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's not knowing victory or defeat. It's understanding the necessity of both. It's engaging. It brings all in. Be who you are. We see a lot of people pretend that they are who they are not before the people that can actually be of help to them in social network. And when that time comes for them to actually be helped, it becomes difficult because they have painted a picture of who they are not. So be real. Don't wait to be perfect or bulletproof. When we wait to be perfect or bulletproof, we walk into the arena, or before we walk into the arena, we ultimately sacrifice relationship and opportunities that may not be recoverable. All right? You want to be perfect, Mr. Know-it-all. Oh, if I'm not perfect, I cannot bring it. No. Learn through the process. Be open to people. That's why vulnerability is the number one there. Let people know who you are. There might be people in your social network that can help you sincerely, whether in your business, the ideas you are sharing that can connect you. So don't wait until you get everything. Don't squander the opportunity. Show up and be seen, among your social network. Be that person that is ready to help, that is ready to go the extra mile. Everybody is busy. Everybody has something they are doing. But are you that person in a social network that can be trusted, that can be counted upon, that can be available to others? There was a guy that passed on not too long. He was somebody that offered service to me. And when I had a particular function, he showed up. I was so happy that, this guy, as big as he was and as busy as he was able to show up. Well done. I really did appreciate him. But unfortunately, he passed on not too long. And when I attended, the commendation service and people started talking, I realized that as busy as this guy, as engaged as he was, he made out time to be there for as many people, unless it is practically impossible. Oh, he was a valuable member of that team. I'm not saying you should leave everything you are doing. No. But whatsoever you call important, you make out time for. Cultivate authenticity. Let go of what people think. Be you. It improved and transformed you. Not what people call you. It is the real you. Learn to be calm and still. There will always be pressure. Let go of anxiety as a lifestyle. Because when you bring anxiety to your social network, what you do is that you put pressure on that social network. And at times, you are not able to be patient. You are not able to wait. You are not able to ask for the real social capital. You are not able to see and tap into the real social capital. Because you know what? You are under pressure, always under pressure. You know what? In this life, pressure will never end. If I look back to about 30, 35 years ago, I knew what I went through trying to do a few things. Today, those same pressures still exist. They are worse today because the population have grown, the economy has become worse, but those things will always be there. And I'm sure you have your story to tell. So be calm and be still. Okay, I've talked about trust. I'm not going to waste time on this, but it is critical in a social network. Trust. Somebody gave you something. Did you return it? Borrowing money from somebody. Somebody signed for you as a guarantor. Did you disappoint? There are so many things that we can look at. It's a trust entails a willingness to take risks in a social context based on a sense of confidence that others will respond as expected and we act in mutually supportive ways, or at least that others do not intend harm. That is trust. So if I trust you, you have to trust me. You know, it has to be reciprocal. Somebody cannot make sacrifice on your behalf. As a member of a social network, you destroy it. 5 years to come, 10 years to come, conditions might have changed, but what will that person remember about you? Some people today are where they are, not because they don't have the qualification, they don't have the experience or the skill, but sometimes it's because of the social capital that they have squandered in the past. They destroyed trust. They borrowed funds. They never bothered to even call back. They never bothered to return it. I remember when I was a teenager, you know, growing up then, there used to be among our friends, some people would borrow shirts to attend meetings, you know, and all that. Why there were some that were faithful in returning whatsoever they borrowed. There were some, they will even borrow your shirts and they will not return it. as odd as that looks like. But if you look at so many things in some people, those kind of attitude just continue. They just continue to carry it on. And when there are now struggles at times, you are wondering, oh, why are things not working? Somebody might have just been in that interview room that you entered and you were the best qualified for that job, but the person remembered who you were, all right, and what you did. Somebody might have just encountered you on the road, on your way to the interview. You did not know who that person is, and the way you behaved and spoke to the person might just be what will stand against you. There have been a lot. Who is speaking for you? Who will speak for you? Who is standing for you? Who will stand for you today among your social network? Are you that kind of person that people can go the extra mile for? Are you the one that is trustworthy? I've talked about norm here as well, and I want to re-emphasize that what norm does here, it provides formal, you know, and informal social control. Let us, even when it is not written, let us know that there are some things that just happen. Everybody's got challenges. Everybody's got problem. So don't bring your problem and put on another person. You know, don't come to a group because one person, you know, especially this happens, especially in churches. Somebody testified how God has blessed him. All of a sudden, all your financial problem, you think that person will solve it. You might be missing what God has placed that person in your life to do. Might just be a connection, might just be a phone call, might just be a help. Don't destroy social network by destroying the norms of the network. All right. Now there's what we call the leveraging social network here, bridging ties. There's what we call weak ties and strong ties in social network. Now what weak ties talk about is the fact that don't be so focused on your own group at the expense of other group. You know, I said earlier, the we, you know, the we, me, the us against them. Sometimes you might benefit from the network that is outside your network. So you see this table that is here today, this diagram, actually cluster A, cluster B diagram. What it's saying is that somebody that is outside, that line from A is somebody that outside